after all this time, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie has finally been released, and I watched it on the day of release, not actual opening night, Thursday the 26th, but I watched it yesterday, the 27th. I'm recording this on the 20th, so literally the day after. And as someone who's been a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's since like 2016, I gotta say, man, this movie is anything I could have asked for from a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. It's the same deal with the Mario movie. I'm here to give my review on it, a very quick video. This is probably gonna come out the same day as the Mario Wonder video also, so little double upload action. We're on it this week. All right, I'm gonna try and keep this as spoiler free as possible, but if I do decide to bring up spoilers, I will say that there is going to be spoilers, so just heads up. All right, just going straight and going into this movie, even when they first announced it back in February, I've been keeping up with the updates for this movie ever since I started recording it in like early February of this year. But like going into the actual theater, I thought this movie was gonna be like a funny good movie. Like I thought it was gonna be so like it was gonna be bad to the point where it was actually like funny to watch. But really, going in, I was after watching it, I was extremely impressed, man. I really was. I really thought this movie I thought it was gonna be like Cocaine Bear. Like me and a bunch of buddies saw Cocaine Bear at the beginning of the year, and like that movie was kind of like, it really realistically it wasn't good, but just because of how funny, and I wouldn't say bad, just how silly it was what made it enjoyable, because realistically it wasn't a crazy movie. But everything from like the actors, the actual animatronics themselves, and I want to touch on this straight away. The animatronics in the movie are actual robots. Like if you saw the behind the scenes video from like Daco and a bunch of Five Nights at Freddy's YouTubers, they got to visit the set and they are actual live robots. And I also saw an interesting tweet on Twitter that apparently Foxy's eye started to twitch on his own. And dude, when I saw that, I'm like, wait, so Five Nights at Freddy's is actually real. They're so amazing. Like when I first saw the movie was announced, I genuinely thought that they were going to be like people inside suits. And this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but you got Spring Bonnie in the trailer, and obviously William Afton is inside the suit. And I'm going to touch on him later on in the video. Yeah, the animatronics were phenomenal. The fact that they were actual robots was so sick. The set design was pretty cool too. They had the prize counter, the seats, the posters, the office, everything. And by the way, this movie, it's literally same exact ordeal as the Mario movie. If you check like the Rotten Tomato things on this, to this day I still don't know how the Mario movie got like a 40 on Rotten Tomatoes, but Five Nights at Freddy's got like a 28 on Rotten Tomatoes, I think. And you know, in all honesty, I was expecting that. All right, if you know one thing about Rotten Tomatoes, they always give the good movies bad Rotten Tomato scores, and then the shit movies actual good Rotten Tomato scores. And when the Rotten Tomato score is good, the audience score isn't good. When the audience score is good, the Rotten Tomato score isn't good. It's literally the solar opposite, basically. Last time I checked, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie audience rating was at like an 89 on the website. And like I said, it's the same exact ordeal as the Mario movie. Let me get into the actors. Personally, I think Josh Hutcherson made an amazing Mike Schmidt. His personality, and I loved the whole thing they did with him going to sleep. This isn't really a spoiler. Every time he goes to sleep, he takes these sleep pills, and he keeps going back to this dream of his brother getting kidnapped. And every time he goes back to that dream, basically, he keeps trying to think, like he thinks that he saw the person who took him, and he keeps going back to that dream every time he goes to sleep, and something different always happens each time, but who takes him. And I think that was really cool, man. I think that was a pretty neat side story along with the actual story of the movie. And on the topic of that, one of the main complaints that I saw with this movie on like Twitter and like all the big companies online was that the plot was all over the place. But like for me, I thought the plot was pretty straightforward. But then again, I know the entire lore of Five Nights at Freddy's off like the palm of my hand, so I think that's why it was a lot more easy for me to comprehend, because I went with a few friends and none of them really enjoyed the movie because they didn't know all the lore like I did. And that's one thing about this movie. If you don't know much about the Five Nights at Freddy's lore, I don't think it's gonna be, I think you might enjoy it, but you won't enjoy it to the fullest if you don't know the lore. In all honesty, the lore's pretty basic. Like they touch on the 5 kids getting killed by the guy in the Spring Bonnie suit and how the spirits possess the animatronics. That's like the main lore that they touch on. They don't go anything past Five Nights at Freddy's 1, really. And this movie was pretty littered with Easter eggs, by the way. In the opening of the movie, when Mike, so basically before he got the job at Freddy's, he was a security warden at a mall. He was going to this ice cream stand, and their whole little mascot for the ice cream stand was Chica's Rainbow from FNAF World. And dude, when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about FNAF World. FNAF World was a forgotten gem. That game was so cool. And I think even the chick who worked the ice cream stand actually voiced Chica's Rainbow, which was pretty sick. But the way Mike actually ends up at Freddy's, when he's in line at the ice cream stand, he notices that there's this kid by himself, and that a man comes up to him and kind of runs away with him, and he thinks that he was getting kidnapped, but it was actually his father, and then he just starts beating the shit out of him in a waterfall. Like, literally, he full on just like dives into him into the water fountain. That was kind of wild. And now I want to talk about Matthew Lillard. Dude, he's such a great character. So basically, they introduce him as this character called Matthew, but this is just really a disguised name for William Afton. He is William Afton. They do say that in the movie. He basically works as this like counseling guide person, and he leads Mike to get the job at Five Nights at Freddy's at Freddy Fazbear's. That's what it was. You know, just on the topic of Five Nights at Freddy's, it's not really a spoiler, but it might be a minor spoiler to some. All the memes online, like, I made a YouTube short about one, me leaving the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Like, online, they're all like, alright, Faz gang, listen up. We gotta spring this trap, alright? Bonnie, take the right hall. Foxy, take the left hall. Chica, you just be Chica, alright? Together, we are FNAF. Like, there is kind of a scene like that. I'm not gonna lie. But Mike's sister, Abby, ends up going with him one night because of the babysitter wasn't there. And, they build a fort. I keep forgetting to touch on Vanessa too. Vanessa, the police officer who's introduced his first night at Freddy's, Abby and Mike were all there, and all three of them, along with the 4 animatronics, build a fucking fort. Like, in a horror context, it makes no sense. But like I said, if you know the lore, they're just kids inside suits. And before this happens, they do touch on the fact that they are kids inside of robot suits. And that's one thing that I must say. There wasn't really a ton of jump scares, and that's the main scare source Five Nights at Freddy's is built off of. But like, when the movie actually is trying to be like scary, like, there's a lot of filler moments. I shouldn't say filler, like, it's like a side quest kinda. But like, when it's actually trying to be Five Nights at Freddy's, like, there's this one part in the movie where guys break into Freddy's because Mike's job is to protect Freddy's and not allow anybody to get in. These 4 people break in and trash the place, and all the animatronics, they all wake up and they're like, let's get these guys, right? Let's get them out of here. Some of the scenes were brutal in that clip, and like, from there you got the scary moments. You got like Foxy runs down the hallway in one of the scenes. Bonnie's in a closet. That scene alone, that's what makes it Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, when it's actually trying to be scary, it really is Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, when I went to the theater, and whenever there was something iconic that happened, or there was a cameo that happened, I'm not gonna get into all the cameos, but in the trailers, Corey was in there. Corey, and he even has a little and it's not a post-credit scene, it's like midway through the credits, there's a little scene with him, so stay after in the movie. But like, when all the people, all the cameos came on the screen, everybody's like, yo! And then when Freddy popped on screen, everybody went, or, like, stuff like that. Everybody went crazy whenever something iconic happened. Like, genuinely, like, my movie experience at Mario Bros was phenomenal, but there wasn't as many diehard Mario fans there as opposed to the FNAF movie. Like, there was so many more diehard FNAF fans at the Five Nights at Freddy's movie than diehard Mario fans at the Mario movie. And I must say, the ending, I was not expecting the ending at all. I'm trying to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. But dude, just all around the board, the atmosphere, like, yeah, there's a few flaws in it, but overall, as somebody who has loved Five Nights at Freddy's since they were 11 years old, and I'm 17 now, genuinely, this movie was borderline perfect for a Five Nights at Freddy's fan. Like, when I left the theater, I'm like, holy shit, they actually fucking nailed it. I left pleasantly surprised from the theater. And by the way, this movie, you don't even have to go see it in the theaters, even though I highly recommend you do. It's on Peacock, and it came out a day early, so if you don't want to go to the theaters and watch it, just go watch it on Peacock. But I highly recommend you watch it in the theaters, especially since it's a Halloween movie, alright? In the pitch black, everybody screaming, stuff like that. But just genuinely across the board, man, this movie was so fun. I absolutely loved it. If you don't know much about Five Nights at Freddy's, you're probably not going to like it. It might be enough to intrigue you into the movie, but not actually delve into the lore. But if you love the lore and know it, you're going to absolutely love this movie, man. It's not as good as the Mario movie. The Mario movie is like up here, and Five Nights at Freddy's is like right here. Like, it's pretty fucking close, man. But like I said, this was a spoiler-free review of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I highly recommend it if you know the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's, like I said. And a little double upload action today. pretty fire. All right, I'll see you guys next time. All right, peace.